If you're obsessed with your numbers, you're always trying to push yourself and do more, do more, do more. Chances are you're not focusing on recovery enough. And it's going to be eventually there's going to be a snap or a pull. There's going to be something that goes awry because you're not recovering enough. Here we go. Here's a good question. What say you? What say you? Death metal barbell. What we got here?
What's in the box?
All right, let's see what we got from Death Metal Barbell. Papa Swolio, what do you say to lifters who are obsessed with their numbers? That is a good question, right? That is a good question. That's something nice. That's nice. We can go off on that. What do I say to lifters who are obsessed with their numbers? Well, one, I prefer a lifter that's obsessed with their numbers than someone who doesn't lift. So that's you're already winning. You're already doing better than 80% of the people in this world, or this country at least, maybe even more, maybe 85. So you're already doing better by the fact that you're lifting, period. Now, I'm assuming you're coming at this from a perspective of if you're obsessed with your numbers, your PR. That's not the way I like to live. I used to keep close track of what I lifted every week, and I used to write it down. I used to bring a composition book everywhere. I haven't done that in years because I don't care necessarily about my progress in terms of strength because I'm aware of it. But that comes with experience. I just know I know what I'm doing for me. I know when my strength is improving. I know what areas I'm trying to work on. So I don't get really granular with like listing my reps. I used to when I first started, and it's very effective to see and check your progress. Okay, I did this much weight last time. I did this many reps. And then you can know that you look back a couple months. Wow, I used to do 20 pounds. Now I do 30 pounds. And it does work. And it's a really good strategy to keep everything tracked. But when you get obsessed with your numbers, and this can go with calories, it can go with lifting, it really depends on what your goal is. And it's really it's really diminishing return. And a lot of times when you're obsessed with your numbers in a negative way, you tend to try to always lift more. You're always going for a PR. You're always trying to push yourself. And when you're obsessed with numbers, people that don't do it properly, I mean, if you do it properly, you're not obsessed with numbers. You have a goal. So if you're trying to get stronger and that's your goal and you periodize properly and you have proper rest periods and deloading and you're recovering properly, that's great. But if you're obsessed with your numbers, you're always trying to push yourself and do more, do more, do more, chances are you're not focusing on recovery enough. And it's going to be, eventually there's going to be a snap or a pull. There's going to be something that goes awry because you're not recovering enough. You're not focusing enough on the fourth pillar, which is recovery. So numbers can be good, but being obsessed in terms of with numbers from a negative standpoint, from a positive standpoint, it can help you track your progress. But it depends on if you have your other areas. For instance, if you're not getting all 7 pillars, then there's no need to be obsessed with numbers. Then you're focusing too much on pillar 2. If you have everything locked down and you really like to focus on your progress and do it properly, there's nothing wrong with wanting to track and be granular with numbers. Some people really like it. For me, it's just not something in the moment that I want to distract myself during a workout. I want to focus on the lifting. I don't want to be like, let me scroll through. I just haven't cared in a very long time what the numbers actually are. I know when I'm getting stronger, when I'm not. I know because of the weights that I lift. And there are certain key lifts that you'll do and you can check your strength. But there is a point where I got with my training that I started to get to the point strength-wise where I didn't want to go heavier because I've been fortunate in my life as a personal trainer and just as a human being to be around a lot of older people. My grandparents, my stepfather, who was a competitive and a champion bodybuilder, natural bodybuilder back in the 50s. So, and he was a lot older than my mom, but a beast, like a legend in his area. And because of that, I've seen the wear and tear, and I've seen the negative side of just strength and strength and strength and deadlifting and squatting and deadlifting. And these are people that have been going through their entire lives. And I've trained lots of older people that used to be bodybuilders and used to be people that were training hard back in the 60s and 70s. And this is before everyone really knew what the right form was. People understood training volume. My stepfather was in the was in the Navy. And when he used to come into port, he would find a gym. And this is back when there was maybe one health club in New York City or something. Come into port and he would go and he would lift like everyone else would go and chase girls and go drinking. He would go to the gym for 8 hours. And it's like, holy shit. He would go to the gym and squat and do all that shit. He would do so much volume. I can't even imagine doing like a fraction of what he would do in a workout. Like he would tell me and just, fuck, are you kidding me? Like I just felt like I was in a coma just hearing him talk about it. And we're talking just epic amounts of weight. So, back when men were men, right? So it depends on the context. It depends on the context. Numbers aren't going to save you from having blown out knees and your back all fucked up when you're 60. And as much as squatting isn't the enemy, I'm not going to be the kind of person like, oh, you shouldn't squat as you get older. That's not true. Because if you're building up properly and you've progressively overloaded, you have good form, you have good mobility, you can squat into your old age. There's nothing wrong with going heavy when you get older. But I will say that even if you are prepped, it's diminishing return. Once I started getting to 400-500 pounds with squats and deadlifts, and that was where I drew the line. I just didn't have any desire. When I was under the bar, it just felt so fucking heavy. There's nothing wrong with heavy weight, but it got so heavy and it felt so uncomfortable. I've never been a powerlifting type of person. So even my heaviest sets were always 3, 4, 5 reps. I very rarely did any kind of like single or double. Only for deadlifts would I do. Deadlift, I've done deadlifts. Usually when I've done max sets, the most I've usually done, or what I usually like to do, was do 2 reps. I never like to go to that absolute limit, just for me personally. It was just the risk and reward just wasn't worth it. I've always erred on the side of caution, and some people were like, whoa, you have to go all out. Sure, but I'd rather not have a life-altering injury that will affect the way I lift forever. So I've always erred on the side of caution, which is why, knock on wood, I've never had any kind of major issue lifting. And I plan on maintaining strength to the point, like, how much strength do you need? Legit, how much strength do you need? Do you need to squat 600 pounds? No. Like, why do you want to? Just saying. I mean, it gets exhausting. It's the same way with eating. I'm lighter and I'm thinner. I'm leaner than I have been. Like I'm fucking lean as shit right now, and I'm maintaining it. I'm eating as much as I want at the times that I'm eating. I'm eating really great food. I feel good. I have great mobility. I don't have pain. I have great strength. I do kettlebell swings with 150s. I'm doing single leg squats and presses, and I have the power blocks with 90s, and I'm doing curls with 50s and 6. I mean, how much stronger do I need to be? How much more do I need to lift? Do I need to be deadlifting 400 pounds? It's just not something that is really that important. How much do you have to deadlift? I think it's great to maintain your strength and to be training to keep it at a heavy level. But do I want to put 5 and 6 plates on the bar for deadlift? I just don't have a desire for it. I just don't see the point. It doesn't appeal to me in the same way. The same way that overeating and just stuffing face, because you want to get that strong, you're eating a lot and you're eating big and you're eating all the time. You're not going to get massive by doing like intermittent fasting and fucking keto and shit. It's going to be hard unless you have to do it really, really right when you're doing, carnivore or something. I don't like pounding tons of carbs. I'm not a big carbaholic. I love my fats, and it doesn't mean you can't build muscle. It doesn't mean you can't be strong. I'm not saying you can't be strong on low carb or carnivore, but you know what I'm talking about. I don't want to eat 6 times a day. I'm not in that kind of bulking mindset. I did that for a long time. I grew out of it. So I know I went a little bit off in the weeds with that question, but it really depends on the context. In other words, more isn't always better. It's more. What's better than more? More, and then more, and then more. As you get older, you tend to just, I think this happens with a lot of people. You tend to just not want to be in pain. You tend to not want to be fucking sore, and not just sore, but you tend to not want your joints to hurt all the time. And this is something that I've always really loved with training and coaching and being, and with Swolenormous and Swolenormous X. I love it when people tell me that they had knee pain or back pain or shoulder pain, and they did the yoga and they don't feel pain anymore. That's much more of a success for me. Or they change their diet and now they don't feel bloating, their joints don't hurt, their migraines went away. I get much more satisfaction and pleasure because that's helping someone in so many more areas of their life than going up 5 pounds on a bench press ever could. Like I give zero fucks about whether or not you can squat 10 pounds more. That's great. And I can help you do that. But after a while, it's like, why? It just doesn't make as much sense. It gets much more risky, and it's a very small percentage of the population that really should be doing it because most people have terrible form, terrible diets. And once you get hurt, it's like a permanent setback. It's always in the back of your head. Your joints, your tendons, your ligaments are always a little bit weaker. Your mobility is a little bit changing. You're kind of always guarding yourself. And then that can make it a real risk for really pushing yourself if you have any kind of self-doubts. Now, you can get injured and still come back strong and close to 100%. But I think that diminishing return is what most people don't think about. Most people don't think about longevity in the sense of most people don't think long term. They think now. They want instant gratification. They want to feel that now. They want to lift that now. Okay. I know a lot of people that lifted heavy in their 20s, 30s, and 40s, and now they have a huge gut. They're banged up. They can barely move. They're stiff as shit. They have they have vertebrae fused together. They're herniated discs and they're all jacked up. Was it worth it to squat 520? Whoa. Tough guy. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of human ego. And we know that humans have ego like crazy anyway. Combine that with lifting and you have a recipe for disaster for a lot of people long term.
That's a bed that you made. That's a bed that you made. That's a bed that you laid. That's a bed that you laid. What kind of game is you playing? We go hard in the paint. We go hard in the paint. What the fuck is you saying? What the fuck is you saying? I only go where they pay. What kind of game is you playing?
My shit is relevant, on topic, my melanin is popping. I'm taking skeletons on closets and making new deposits. I'm in my element, no ollies, you children popping.